and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we always have a smile on our face. There's always something exciting going on here. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. And our show today is Entrepreneur and so much more. I love this show because my co-host and the star of our show, Justin Mirigliani, he is a person committed to making the world a better place. He leads his life with kindness. He's very heart-centric, and he's a pretty darn good entrepreneur as well. Let's welcome him to the program. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Jacqueline. How are you today?
Hi, it's great to see you. And I love this Philly backdrop that we have going on, New Jersey, Philly. So
Yeah.
tell us, what's been going on in the world of entrepreneurial leadership with you, Justin?
Yeah. So I've been training a lot of classes around the area where we talk about what leadership is, how it works, who leaders are, what they aren't. It's just amazing how we miss the boat with leadership. It looks, at least in my opinion, and from what I'm seeing around not only this area, but all across the country, um, where somebody is good at their job and they get promoted and they become a leader. But we never teach them how to be a leader. That's one of the things that I've been going through a lot in these classes is that it's the superstar worker, the one who is the top performer, who we say, hey, we're going to give them uh, a promotion, and we have to give them a raise, and a raise is fine. I'm okay with that, but uh, promoting somebody to be a leader doesn't mean that they really are a leader. And we're not teaching these folks the skills to be leaders. We're just saying you were great at your job, so go ahead and now lead other people. And what's happening is we're finding that most leaders, the majority of them, really don't have any idea how to lead at all. A lot of it is I'm the boss, you do what I say, and that's leadership. And it really isn't how it works. Leadership is service. You have to serve the people who are in your charge. There's a gentleman who is an expert in this area. His name is Simon Sinek, and I've been watching a lot of his videos. I'm just recently buying his books. Pardon me, and a lot of what he talks about is this fact that it's not you being in charge, it's taking care of those who are in your charge. That's how he phrases it, and he's absolutely right. um, Part of the reason why there is so much turnover in many companies, it's real simple. It's because people don't feel like they have any leadership. They feel like they're kind of out there on their own island, and they don't feel like they have anywhere to turn when they need some guidance. And unless we start changing that, this is going to be a massive problem, not only, I'm sure, certainly in this country, but around the world.
Justin, thanks so much for sharing that. You brought up some great points. And something else that came to mind for me is having worked in corporate for all of my career, except, back to 2020, is someone gets promoted. They've been in my sphere of peers, and now they're leading me. And it's
Right.
kind of like, oh, I don't think so, because you and I shared a lot of inside information. You were my go to, and now you're going to be managing me. But why? What changed? Why do you suddenly have the skills that it takes to supervise or to lead me? I don't know. That's a question. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think again, what's happening is we look at the person who's doing really well. Let's say I'm being outperformed by a colleague. Maybe they close 10 more sales a month than I do. They might get promoted because of that, and only because of that. That's the only reason. Not even the main reason. The only reason why is because they're more productive. So does that mean that they're a good leader? No, that just means that they were a little bit better at the job that we're doing at the same time. So yeah, they may have outperformed me. They may be the person who's more skilled at the job, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be a better leader. Um, I think what happens is a lot of people look at leadership as being tough and being the hammer that comes down and lays down the law. And people look at that and kind of embrace that as leadership. And it's not, because fear is a motivator for sure. There's no doubt about it. You can scare people to do things, but you cannot scare them to do things forever. It'll be a short-term gain for you. You might be able to scare them to stay late one night, or stay late for a week, or even stay late for a month. But after a while, they're going to start to say, you know what? Why am I doing this? Your company, my company, anybody's company is not the only game in town. There's this thought of, well, if I'm the boss, I'm going to tell them what to do and they're going to do it. And I'm going to say jump and they're going to say how high. Again, you'll get away with that maybe for the short term, but the bottom line is they'll start looking for another job. And eventually that fear that they have of you, that power that you held over top of them, is absolutely worthless at that point. If you want to get people to follow your lead, then be a good leader. And being a good leader is being of service. They have a problem, you find out what the problem is. They need more training, you stay late and serve them and train them and answer their questions. They have a personal problem. You don't have to pry into what that problem is unless they want you to, unless they want to confide in you, which is fine. But you try to work around them. You don't shame them. You don't make them feel lesser of an employee. If you do that, what's going to happen is, again, they're going to turn around and walk out the door eventually. It may not be tomorrow, but it'll be eventually. And the other thing is, how much productivity do you get? Right now, the statistics say that the average worker works about 3 out of 8 hours a day. So if you're at the office for 8 hours, most people are putting in three, and that's pretty bad. That's a very, very sobering statistic, and I don't see it changing anytime soon unless we smarten up and become better leaders and teach people how to be more productive. Teach them how to be better at time management. Teach them how to be better at working with other people, communication skills, all those things that come into play.
Again, more great points, Justin. One thing that came to my mind is about quiet quitting. And it sounds like that's what you're referring to, that people get turned off and they stay in their role. Meanwhile, working 3 out of 8 hours because they're searching for another job, right?
Right.
Or they're walking around just putting out that negative energy to their peers about how much they hate this place and they can't wait to get out of here, but yet still grasping on for that paycheck as long as they can. So, how do we overturn the whole system? Because I think it's a global problem. And I think that it's not just exclusive to one generation or one culture, one group of people. I think it's across the board. And I know that you do a great job with providing training, and you've done some fabulous shows here on our Talking Heads platform as well. What's the first step that we need to take to obviously bring awareness to this, and then to put steps in place so that people feel that leadership is being of service to them?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to look at training as that there will be a return on investment. That's what I do. I'm a corporate trainer. I train people in computer classes and in soft skills training. Um, the computer classes are important, and I would say probably about 90 to 95% of my business is the computer classes. And that's unfortunate, to be honest with you. I'll just flat out tell you that. It would be better if it were the reverse, if 90% of my business were the soft skills, or, if you don't want to call them soft skills, you call them required skills, or skills that are absolutely pertinent to every position. Communication skills, time management, conflict management, leadership skills, all these things are what we consider soft skills. When I sell training, I can sell, as bad of a salesperson as I am, and I'm really not a good salesperson, but when I do sell training, I could sell the computer training much easier. When I talk about the soft skills with companies, they don't see the value in it. Now, there are a few. I got a couple of clients who see the value in it and are actually ramping it up. They're starting to add more and more and more classes on it. Um, we got to somehow decide that training is not cost, there is return on investment. I'll give you an example. If you train people and there's less turnover, in the long run, you're going to save, if you're a large company, even a medium sized company, millions of dollars. So I know somebody who's in HR and his company has about 40% turnover. So that means virtually half of the people who come in leave within a year. So that, in the study that he's done, cost that company $1.2 million a year in that turnover. By the time you hire new people, you train them, and then you give them a salary, then they work, they leave. It's about $1.2 million in turnover at 40%. Now, if that turnover would go up to 50%, then that $1.2 million would become even more. It might become 1.7 million or 2 million. So I think we have to get companies, especially CEOs and people who make the decisions, management, to understand the fact that if you make better leaders, you're going to have less turnover, which in turn will save you money. If people in the higher up part of companies don't see the value in this, then we're going to stay stuck right where we are, where people are not getting trained on being leaders. And what you're going to have is just people shouting and saying, well, I've done this job before. Uh, why are you not doing it the way I did it? Why aren't you, micromanaging? I had a manager one time. I worked in a bank right out of college, and he would sit on your desk and literally sit on your cube, and you're working and he's watching everything that you do. And by the time that, for me, honestly, within a week I was out of there, mentally checked out, and I was done. And within a couple of months I found another job and left. There was no way in the world I was going to deal with that for more than it. I only took it as long as I had to. By the time I found a new job, I was so thrilled to be out of there. It was amazing. 91% of employees do not believe that they can go to their manager with a problem. 91%. That's virtually everybody. Yet most managers, 83% of managers, believe that they have set up a situation and have a climate where employees feel free to talk to them. So managers believe 83%. That's a huge number, right? 83% of managers believe, yeah, I have an open door policy. People could come to me anytime. They feel perfectly comfortable coming to me. Whereas 91% of workers say, I don't feel that at all. I can't go to my manager with a problem for fear that there'll be repercussions, one of which might be I lose my job.
Justin, you have touched on something that you and I have both shared our knowledge and expertise. It starts with listening. It starts with having an open heart and an open mind. And that's what I find is the challenge, that wherever people are in the ranks, if they don't believe that listening skills, which are soft skills, that they're
Right.
imperative, like it's important to create an atmosphere where people feel comfortable to come and share without fear of retaliation. So, why do you think it is the most basic thing, listening? We're not listening at home, we're not listening at work. What is it going to take for people to realize that we are human beings and at our core, we need to feel safe?
Well, I think it comes down to what people believe leadership is. They see the person who shouts and screams and rants and raves as the tough leader type. I mean, think about the military. You know, I'm not sure in the long term that that's a good recipe for making people want to stay. I mean, I know that um, some people have the military as a career, but most people who are in the military do it because either A, back in the 60s, they were drafted, before we ended the draft. So they had to go and they didn't have a choice. How many of them actually stayed in? I would think probably very few compared to how many were drafted, because who wants to be screamed at all the time and ranted and raved at and told that they're, you maggot, you better do this and you better do that. People don't respond to that, or they do for a short period of time. Once the fear wears off, then that's it. It's over. You don't hold the power anymore. Um, so I think that there's a military mentality. I think sometimes at corporations, where the one who screams and beats his or her chest the hardest seems to be the better manager. They feel, maybe it's an ego thing. They think that, that's what they do. I've had managers brag about how, my job is to delegate. My job is to, make sure everybody does what they're supposed to do. No, your job is to serve the people that work under you. Your job is, if there's a shortage, to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and do it too. Not crack the whip and stand there and be the big mighty boss, because you lose respect for that person. I'll give you another example. The second job I had out of college was at a company. We did mutual funds. And we had a supervisor who, again, bragged about, I'm the best, I'm the boss, I'm the leader, you do as I say, the whole thing, and stroked his ego by being the boss. And at the end of the year, one time, there was a massive problem with mutual funds. I think this is 1998, excuse me. And we needed to get these mutual funds paid within, I think it was like 6 hours we had to get it done. So everybody's staying late, working hard. And this guy's sitting there eating an apple and drinking coffee and shouting at us to get things done faster. We're not going fast enough. And my thought is, put the apple down, put the coffee down, jump on a computer, and do it with us. Get in the trenches with the people working under you. That's how I would have done it. I would have gotten involved. If it's that important, if we need to get it done that quickly and it's such a big deal, then you should lead by example. Don't just shout orders, jump in. And I think that's lacking. One of my idols growing up was Bobby Clark of the Flyers. And I don't think anybody would say that Bobby Clark was a overly successful speaker. I don't think he was the kind of person who was very, not that he wasn't articulate, but he that wasn't his thing. He wasn't a person who would shout and scream. But nobody worked harder. Nobody tried harder on the ice than he did. He worked, and if you weren't giving the same effort that he gave, then you weren't pulling your weight. And he just had a way of leading by example. And it's so much better to lead by example than it is by just lip service. It just never it will be the same.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. And there's been a lot of coverage in the news about a specific person who's nameless, who decided to buy out this company and
Mm,
laid off all these people, and now is cutting out a lot of the perks, and people are scared to death. They're vomiting before they've got to go and do whatever it is he wants them to do. Obviously, ruling by fear. And
right.
we know that that doesn't work at
How
all.
long will that last? How long will those people
It's
stay there if they're vomiting before work? Are
Yeah,
they going to
not
do
too
that for
long.
a year?
No, I
They're
don't think
not.
so.
If you have
They're
people
definitely
sitting in their car with their head on the steering wheel, desperate not to have to go into that building, do you really think that they're going to do that for months? That's going to last for a very short time, and they're going to look for another job.
I agree with you, absolutely. So, I wanna ask you about the soft skills, and then what about the perks, the non-cash rewards that people get as part of doing their job? How important are they compared to the soft skills? Do you need both? Do you need the training and the perks to keep people feeling engaged and valuable?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people I do another class. It's another soft skills class, and it's on giving and receiving constructive feedback. Well, constructive and positive feedback. So we don't say negative feedback, because you never want to be negative. You don't want to give negative feedback. For instance, if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, your job as a leader is not to say, what is your problem? Why are you not getting this done? It's apparent that you don't care about your job. That's what most leaders do. They they come out angry. That's their go-to. Whereas the good leader would say, look, I noticed the reports that are supposed to be coming in haven't been coming in. Are you having a problem? If you are, let me help you. Let me show you what you can do to find some shortcuts to get it done. Or let me show you some ways that you can get it done more quickly. Or maybe, is it more than you can handle? Do we have to put somebody else on the job with you? So finding out what the problem is, and then being of service to that person and helping them get by the problem. You're not going to fix them by screaming at them. You're not going to fix them by demanding that they get better. What if they can't? What if that's just the max that they could give you? Not everybody is going to be able to do the same work at the same time. You could have two carpenters. One carpenter could put a deck on the back of a house in 10 days. Another one might take 20 days. It is what it is. Some people are more skilled than others. I might be able to build a spreadsheet a lot faster than somebody else. Well, that's what I do. I train Excel probably 12 to 15 times a month. So sure, those skills are very sharp for me. But on the other hand, if I had to build an access database, which I haven't taught in about 5 years, it's going to take me a little longer to kind of remember the things that need to be done. So somebody else will be much faster there. So, you know, no amount of screaming and yelling is going to make me better at access. I'm not going to remember more things because you're yelling at me or you're sitting on my desk and try to make sure I get it done. All you're going to do is frustrate me and force me to find ways to cope with the frustration. And one of those ways, of course, is going to be walk away, take a break, or multiple breaks, to not get the work done, to avoid it in any way possible. What good does that do if you have people who are procrastinating and not getting things done because you've now gotten them to the point where they can't think straight? If we continue down that road, we're going to continue to have companies with 40% turnover, 100% turnover. I've actually heard of companies with 100% turnover. That literally means that somebody's hired and within a year gone. Now, that doesn't mean everybody. Somebody might stay for 10 years. But how about the person who starts and leaves in 2 weeks? And the person who starts and stays for 3 months? And if you average all that out, there are some companies that have 100% turnover. That means they literally have a new company every year. Do you want to keep going that way? I mean, I wouldn't. If it were a company that I was running and I had multiple employees, I would want to change. I would want to train them. The companies that show interest in people are the ones that are successful. The ones that don't aren't as successful. And one of the classes again that I teach is constructive criticism. And not only constructive criticism, but positive feedback. Why do managers only come up to employees when there's a problem? Do you want to be the manager who only shows up and talks to your subordinates when there's a problem? Why would you want to be the negative person? Why would it be that when you're in the hallway and people see you, they start diving into offices or jumping in the elevator and trying to get away? Do you really want to be that type of leader? I mean, I would not want to be that type of leader. So why not go up to people and say, hey, you know what? I saw that you did this. You helped out another employee on a task, and I'm really proud of you, and I'm happy that you did that. And it means a lot. Why don't you take an extra long lunch tomorrow? Or, why don't you take a half a day on Friday? Or here are some movie tickets. Or a million other things that you can do to be positive. One of them is at the end of the day, well, actually come in early in the morning if you're a leader and write down one positive thing that you've seen this person do throughout the last week or the last month, whatever it is, for each person. So if you have 10 people, you have 10 post-it notes and write a positive thing about each person on one post-it note and then stick it under their chair. And then at the end of the day, send out an email and say, hey, everybody, look under your chair. And then everybody looks under their chair and they see this positive feedback. Why don't we do that as much? Why is it that there's this resistance to doing this? I don't get it. I think that if people would just see the value in that, they would do it more. And the idea that, well, I do my job and nobody praises me. Well, don't be like that. I mean, if you don't like it, if you don't get praised by the people above you, that doesn't mean that you in turn say, well, then I'm not going to praise the people who are working in my charge. So do it anyway. Why is it that you have to be praised? Good leaders, it's unfortunate, and Simon Sinek says this in one of his videos, that when things go wrong, you take all the blame. And when things go right, you give away all the credit. And he says it. That sucks. That's not fun. But that's what you are. You're a leader. That's what you have to do. That's part of the job description. Bragging about, well, my team, I did this and I did that. No, my team, I'm proud of my team. This is what they did. This is what they've accomplished. You know, or our team is struggling. I have to find out a way to motivate my team members to get better results. That if you don't want to do that, you don't have to be a leader. There's no rule that says that everybody must be a leader. Again, Simon Sinek will tell you that if you watch any of his videos or read any of his books. Like parents, anybody can be a parent. Some people will be a parent. Some people won't be a parent, and some people should never be a parent. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. There's nothing negative about that. I have friends who say, look, I'm too selfish. I can't be a parent. I don't want to have kids. I just like my life the way it is. And if I had kids, it would cause me to have a different lifestyle. And I don't want that. I'm selfish and that's the way I am. Look, that's the choice. That's not a bad thing. What would be bad is if that person becomes a parent and then neglects their kids. That's the problem. So if you're not a leader and you know it and you refuse to become a leader, that's not a negative. You're accepting that you have a limitation, and then you're saying, "Look, I'm not gonna put myself in a position where I'm not gonna be successful." So, some leaders maybe have to step down and say, "Look, this is not my deal. This is not my gig. I'm not a leader. I'd rather be a worker." Okay, I respect that.
Thanks so much, Justin. I think there's so many valuable points you brought up, and I'm wondering, where does the directive come from? Is it from the boardroom? Is it from the stockholders? Is it from media attention? And what role does each and every person in that organization play to perpetuate the cycle? And I know that there's a reality TV show where people go undercover into businesses, C-level
Yeah,
executives, and they have that curiosity. I'm not sure what the exact reason is that they do it initially, but when you see that they're going into the different departments and they're actually listening to what their employees are telling them about their personal life as well as the process, change takes place. And what ultimately always is an outcome: training. We need to
always.
train our people on how to do things differently. We need to incorporate what they're telling us, what's going on in their home lives, because they can't just be, they're not divided. They're one person. And this
Right,
is where it all starts, that curiosity about what can I learn about my own people, about my own organization? What training is needed? And then how can we roll it out to as many people who will be benefited as it goes across the organization? It's going to go up the organization.
right. Yeah, I think and what are those people doing? Those CEOs are serving the people who work for them, right? They're going in, they're
Right.
being of service. As you said, they're listening, they're learning more about them, what the job entails. I'm not saying that every leader has to know every aspect of every person's job, but they should have an idea of what it is and what it takes. Again, in the mutual fund situation, if this boss didn't know how to do it, to me, I got a little bit of a problem with that. I think that is something that that person needs to know. Um, when somebody asks for something that's impossible, it's ridiculous. And I had that recently with a client. A client wanted me to give 4 hours of training in 2 hours, and I told her that's not possible. And technically, she's my boss, right? She's a customer, so customer's always right. But in this case, the customer was wrong, and she wanted 4 hours of training in 2 hours. And I said, look, that's not going to happen. Don't I can't lie to you, or I could lie to you and tell you that that's possible and then not deliver, which would be worse. Or I could tell you the truth and say, look, you're going to have to pick and choose what topics you want. Or option B, extend the training to 4 hours instead of two. That's really ultimately the only two choices that you have. And what happens, I think, in companies is similar to this. They don't know what it entails. So this is a person who doesn't understand training, doesn't understand Excel, But once all these topics taught, not knowing how long they take to teach, and that's what happens sometimes with leadership. They don't understand. Some leaders don't understand what the job entails, so they ask for things that are completely out of the realm of possibility. Well, no matter how much you want that to be true, it's not going to be true. I mean, there's certain realities they have to face. Another one, another customer. One time, I had to fly out to California, got to the Philadelphia airport, and my uh, plane was delayed in Philly, and the connection, I missed it. I was going to miss it anyway in Detroit to get over to California. So that meant I wasn't going to get there the next day. I was going to actually fly to Detroit and then have to stay overnight and then take a plane to California the next morning. So I would be there a day late. And the lady who was running the training said, "Well, I hired you for this training and I need you to get here." And I said, "Well, I don't know how I could do that. I'm in Philadelphia. I won't make my connection and I'm going to be a day late." And she said, "Well, I don't care if you have to flap your arms to get here. You're going to get here." I, you know, what does that do? I mean, what does that change the situation? I mean, is she being a tough leader by saying, "Well, you're going to get it done"? It was an impossibility. It didn't happen. So no matter how angry she got, and no matter how ridiculous her demands, it still wasn't going to change the situation. I still wasn't going to be able to make the connection, and I still got there a day late and got the job done. But I think a lot of times leaders don't understand what the job entails, and they ask for things that are way out of the realm of possibility and expect results that they're never, ever, ever going to get. And what happens when they don't get the results? Well, how dare you disobey me? How dare you not listen to my commands? I delegated this job to you and you got to get it done and you didn't. Well, you asked for something that was beyond the scope of possibility, and it's reality.
And I think also, to circle back to what we were saying before, many times these directives, this corporate culture is established by people who are in the senior leadership role, who are answering to the board members, to the shareholders. And instead of saying, wait a minute, the most important thing that we do is listen to our people. Our people are our most valuable assets. I know when I was in corporate, I worked for an employee-owned company, and I really valued that. They really cared about how we felt.
Yeah.
And you can't say that across every organization. But I think at the same point, we also have to look at the fact that how many of us are taking the check and staying in the job and not doing the work
Right.
because nobody will listen to us. Or if we do speak up, we're afraid we'll be terminated. So it just seems to be this circle that just keeps going around. And I love and respect the corporations, the businesses that have gone outside of this pattern and said, no, it's about our people, it's about our employees, it's about our customers. That's what matters.
And I when I train at a company, I especially one in particular, I won't use the name, but I tell their people, I say, you have no idea how lucky you are that you're working for this company because they value you so much. They give you so much training, and they really not only value you as an employee, but as a person. They want to make sure that your life is as rich as it could possibly be. And it's rare. That's the sad thing. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if the majority of companies thought that way? It's actually the reverse. It's most companies are like, what can we get out of these people at the least amount of money that it's going to cost us to get the most out of these people? Yeah, I've had managers that I heard would be so happy. Oh, I got this guy for $30,000 a year, and instead of 35 or 40 or whatever. And it's like, but why would you want to get them for lower? I get it that you want to save money for the company, but you know, if I pay somebody $40,000 a year and I pay them well, or at that time that was a decent amount of money, um, aren't they going to be better workers? Aren't they going to give more effort because they have a job where they obviously are paid well so that they can do a good job? who wants to lose a job when you're getting paid very well? Today, in today's money, if somebody's getting $80,000 or $90,000 a year, that's a lot of money today. That's a really good salary. And why would you want to say, oh, let me see if I can get them for 50? Are they're not going to be as into the job as if they're getting paid better.
Because they
Although,
feel devalued.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, more than money is time. Why don't we give people 6 weeks vacation? Why do we give 1 or 2? In studies done, countless studies, ultimately people want time more than cash. So if you told somebody, look, I could pay you another $10,000 a year, or I could give you 5 more weeks of vacation, they would take the 5 weeks of vacation. You can always make money. You can never get time back. And one of the classes that I teach on productive leadership, leading productive teams, we do a game. It's called the $84,600 game. 84,600 seconds are in a day. So the idea of the game is, I tell them, look, if you had a week where I'm going to give you $84,600 every day, but the stipulation is you gotta use it all. You can't save it for the next week. If you don't spend it all, you're going to wind up losing it forever. You're out of the game. So I say, let's do it as if we had that for a week. And most of the things that come back are vacation home for me and my family. I would pay off my parents' mortgage. I would pay off my kids' mortgage. I would buy land. I would travel around the world with my family. Almost every person is looking for more time with their family, more time with friends, more time to do things on their own. Very few of them say things like, I would start my own company and work harder. Now, most of it revolves around doing things with their family. Of course, some people will buy a car, and that's fine. That's cool. I would. I would enjoy buying a Porsche and having a nice car. But that's what you have every day. You have 84,600 seconds every day. How do you spend it? What do you spend it on? So time is such a big thing. I mean, we only have a limited amount of time. And if as a leader, like I said earlier in the program, I would, I can't raise everybody's salary all the time, but I sure can give them more time off. If somebody does something really great, I'm going to say to them, look, Friday afternoon, why don't you knock out at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or whatever? Take a half day on Friday. You've done your work. You've worked your 8 hours every day. You're not giving me 3 hours. You're giving me 8, or you're giving me 7 at least, right? You're giving me as much as you possibly can, so I could be gracious and give you some time on the other end. So, money's great. Money's important. We all need it, but more valuable than money is time.
And to your point, the money does come and the money does go. And it's interesting, you and I are here in the United States, but we certainly have team members at USA Global TV and Radio who are all over the world. And there are very different cultures and very different mindsets about vacation, about time off, about the siestas. And here in this country, it's been, because you and I have talked about this when you were going to go away, it's almost like you can take the vacation, but you better be available. We better be able to reach you, because Susie, Bobby, and Billy are all doing their things and they can't cover for your work. So you're going to be working while you're away. And then
Yep.
it just starts that cycle again. And that resentment, that anxiety that you're doing the work, you're putting in the time, and you need this time with your family. You need this time for yourself, for self-care, for reflection, whatever it is. But yet it's discouraged here in the United States.
And why do we see that criticizing the mistakes that we make as a country as hatred for the country, or you don't love your country, or you're not patriotic? I mean, it's like, if you have a kid with a learning disability, does it do them any good to deny it and say, you know what, I'm going to pretend like they don't have it. We're just going to let them go through school. We're gonna sweep it under the rug. Or if your child has diabetes, Would you say, well, you know what? I don't like that they have diabetes, so we're going to pretend that they don't. And because I love them, I'm not going to give them insulin, because if I give them insulin, then I'm admitting that there's something wrong. Well, that's how we are with the United States. Any of us, I see this in social media a lot. Well, you must not love this country then if you're going to be critical. Well, no. If you love the country, you're going to find the things that are wrong with it and try to make them better. Why would, if you didn't love the country, you'd say, the hell with it, and it is what it is. We do not do well here with vacations and time off. We don't. We simply don't. Europe is much, much, much better at it than we are. Europe as a whole. Uh, and I don't know much about other continents, but I'm sure other countries and other continents are follow more of the European style of things than we do. Paternity leave of weeks, maternity leave of weeks, uh, 6 weeks of vacation, as Dr. Jacqueline said, siestas. I know in Italy they have their big meal in the middle of the day, and everybody sits around and eats together, and then they take a little nap. They go back to work at 7 o'clock. Well, they're getting things done. They're just doing it with a lot less stress. I don't understand this badge of honor where people say, well, I work, 80 hours a week, or I work 90 hours a week. Why? Why is that a good thing? That's overkill. Why not be productive in the time that you're there and get the job done in a shorter amount of time? And just because you're in the building doesn't mean that you're working, right? Like when people go to the gym, I could go to the gym and I spend 2 hours in the gym the whole time. Of course, I take breaks, but I'm working out the whole time. So I'll bench press and then I'll take 5 minutes, and then I'll do my triceps and take 5 minutes, because you obviously need some time to recuperate. But I would go to the gym when I used to go to a commercial gym, and people would be in there the same amount of time as I was, 2 hours, but their 2 hours is a lot different. They were drinking a latte or drinking a smoothie, talking to other people. And that's cool if that's what you want to do, but the quality of the time spent was different. The quality of my time was actually working out, and their time was not. So, you could be in the building for 90 hours, but does that mean that you're getting 90 hours of work done? My hunch is probably not.
Agreed. I remember those water cooler conversations, people, especially on a Monday or a Friday, there's a lot of time wasted. And then companies
Ah,
started blocking what you were doing with your computer, where you were going, because people were all over social media.
right,
So I think we've really hit on a number of points. You've done a great job here, really opening our eyes to areas that still need focus and attention. And one thing that's come up as a result of this pandemic is people were able to work from home, and now they want to stay home. I don't know what the numbers are, but companies want people back to business. And you've got the CFO, you've got board members, this real estate that is contracted for the offices, the headquarters around the world, all the satellite offices. Now
right,
nobody's in those offices. So it kind of goes back and forth, because you need to listen to your people and what they want. And yet there's still the bottom line and the commitment to the numbers. So I think there's
right.
still a lot of area for growth, room for improvement. And I hope that business leaders and people in the service of leadership will continue to open their eyes and be curious about their people, and give people a safe space to share how they're feeling without fear of retribution. And of course, the most important is the training, is that these soft skills that make us who we are. It's not just, hey, I can operate this computer. It's how I treat you as a human being that
Right.
is extremely important.
And even if you don't take the training from me personally, my company, get it somewhere. Get the training. You will be a better company. There will be return on investment. You might not see it the moment that you have the training, but it will be seen down the line when you have lower turnover, when you have more productive employees. If time is money, then you want to make sure the time that people spend is productive. So, it's a shame that training, especially again, soft skills training, is looked at as, well, we got to pay for that. It's going to cost us money. Well, yeah, in the short term it does, but overall, your return on investment is fantastic if you follow through.
And Justin, as we get ready to close out, I would love you if you just shared with our audience again, what are some of these training courses that you offer and are available to people to hire you for right now?
Sure. I do all the Microsoft applications for the most part: Word, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Visio Project. Microsoft Teams is a big one that I train right now. And more. So contact me if you are interested in ones that I did not mention. And then the soft skills training I do are time management, conflict management, giving and receiving positive and constructive feedback, leading productive teams, and there's many more titles that I have that I train as well. So if you feel that you can make your company better, and I promise you you can by giving them training, you can reach me at Justin at justforyoutc, all spelled out, JUSTFORYOUTC.com. My website is www.justforyoutc, again spelled out.com, and just contact me, and I'll be happy to set up some training with you. And I do one-on-one training. I do group training, which is usually better because you have more bang for your buck if you have a large group. I allow up to 16 students in a group, which makes it very cost effective. So uh, come reach out, and I'll be happy to train you like I'm training some other companies around the country.
Thank you so much, Justin. And I also want to alert people that they can go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. They can look up Talking Heads, Justin Mirigliani, or Talking Heads 2022, and you can actually see some of Justin's training there. So it's a prelude to what it is he actually does. So I highly recommend that you reach out to him and do so now. Be part of the solution and let it start. We're coming very close to a new year. Let's break some of these patterns of behavior and let's let people know how much they mean to us and how much we value them.
Could not agree more.
Justin, I value you from the bottom of my heart. You are a great friend, a great team member, and I love the fact that you always come here with more education, hope, and inspiration.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN, and thank you for all you do for this station. You can't find this stuff anywhere else. There's such a wide array here. So USA Global TV and Radio is where it's at.
Thank you so much, Justin. I'll just leave our audience with one thing. When I look at return on investment as being part of this family, USA Global TV and Radio, I'm not going to say it's in the paycheck. I'm going to say it's in the collaboration. I'm going to say it's in the education. It's in the networking. If you want to join our family, our team, you have the ability to meet with people from all over the world and be part of educating people. And as you said it, Justin, that's what we do here from the bottom of our heart. We spend our time giving hope and inspiration, our experience. Sometimes there's entertainment. We've got a few laughs. So
Right.
I would just welcome everyone to reach out to you and to me and to our channel.
The people on this platform are so authentic. It's amazing. It really is.
I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you so much. But thank you, everybody. It's been great having you with us. We're signing off for today. We'll be back for tomorrow with more shows. Please do reach out to Justin. You will be happy that you did. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.